Hey everyone, Vinayak here. You all know that I've been a Windows user for years. The only time I've used Macs is for work, especially iOS app development, as you cannot deploy for iOS without a Mac. Generally, so here I have the Macbook Air M5, which is the latest M5 chip from Apple M series stable. So is this really worth converting to? Let's find out. So this is the MacBook Air. I have the 24GB RAM and 512GB storage option. This is unified memory and needs to be selected when purchasing the laptop, else you can't upgrade it later as they are soldered onto the motherboard. There are workarounds for Mac Minis, but I'm not sure if the same is doable on the MacBook Air and Pros. Unboxing, we first have the MacBook Air itself. This is in Starlight and I like this color, and it's advised not to pick the darker colors as they are fingerprint magnets. Have to see how well this one keeps fingerprints off. Colors on offer are Silver, Midnight, Starlight and Sky Blue. Under that we have the MagSafe power cable and power adapter. I have changed this also in the options. We generally get a 35-watt charging brick, but I chose the 70-watt adapter. This allows more power to be supplied to the MacBook for more stable performance. I think the 35-watt adapter has two USB-C ports on the back. The 70-watt adapter has one, which would be used by the MagSafe cable. I didn't think this through. I thought there would be an extra port on the other device and the MagSafe would use its own port, which is not the case. So you have only one USB-C port and that is for power. And also this small little adapter powers this laptop, which compared to Windows laptops have a charging brick hanging on the side. Yes, discrete GPUs draw a lot of power, but portability is the MacBook Air's game. Anyway, I have enough USB-C power adapters, so no worries. So what else do you have? You have paperwork, manuals, etc. So that's it. As with most Apple devices, it is quite minimal. Styling is similar to what the M2 had from earlier. It's continuing in this version, and albeit with more performance. The laptop maintains a premium all-aluminum unibody design that is both remarkably thin and structurally rigid. It is built using over 50% recycled materials, including a durable recycled aluminum enclosure designed to withstand daily use without significant flexing in the screen or keyboard deck. On the left, we have the MagSafe power port, two USB-C Thunderbolt 4 ports, and we have a 3.5mm jack on the other side. That's it. It's very minimal. And I have chosen the 15.3-inch Liquid Retina display with a resolution of 2880 by 1864 at 224 ppi, which is still an Apple's Retina display by definition. The display supports wide P3 color gamut, which makes it fit for color-accurate tasks, and brightness maxes out at 500 nits, which is low but is not a problem when used indoors. This notch here is for the webcam. I was hoping for Face ID, but nope. It's just an ugly notch, which does house a 12-megapixel webcam. This webcam also supports center stage, which keeps you in the frame wherever you move. It is done by just zooming into the video and moving around in software, but it is a nice to have feature. Resolution is still 1080p. Supports desk view, which allows you to shoot a top-down view of your desk, which is good for product shots. Not as good as a proper camera, but it works. We have three microphones which allow for voice isolation and wide spectrum modes, which are features lifted off the iPhone. So what it means is better voice clarity for your calls. And keyboard, this is an Apple's backlit Magic Keyboard. Same as earlier models, I have chosen English India. Have to see what changes are there between the options. The keyboard uses scissor switches as opposed to butterfly switches that older Macs had, which did have problems. It's quite low profile with decent travel, not like the ones I used on Windows laptops. Top right, we have Touch ID, which is a boon as I don't like to type in my password every time. The touchpad is big and as before has force clicks, which is just haptic feedback, not real movement. It has tons of gestures you can activate via the settings. Audio is one of the MacBook's USPs, and 13-inch model has 4 speakers, but I'm surprised that the 15-inch has 6 speakers with force cancellation woofers. Cool. Not sure how it sounds compared to a MacBook Pro, but it sounds pretty good. It has spatial audio and Dolby Atmos enhancements, and if you have those AirPods, you also have that directional audio option here. Battery life is also another USP for the MacBook, and we have a 66.5 watt battery in the 15-inch model as compared to 53.8 watt on the 13-inch model. I'm yet to test the battery life, but 15 hours of web browsing and 18 hours of video streaming is promised by Apple. So the M5 has two choices for the SoC. One is a 10-core CPU and 8-core GPU. I picked the one with the 10-core CPU and 10-core GPU. The CPU is then bifurcated into 4 super cores and 6 efficiency cores so that the cores are used as per the task at hand. So for simple tasks, it will use the efficiency cores, and then when it needs more granted, it would activate the super cores too. I have the 10-core GPU, which is a choice on the 13-inch, but the 15-inch model comes with the 10-core GPU only. We also have a 16-core neural engine for AI tasks, which the GPU, which is with its neural accelerators, is also capable of handling, and the media engine allows for hardware video encoding and decoding. Memory bandwidth on the Air is 153 Gbps, and the storage is also much faster than earlier. We have Wi-Fi 7 connectivity and also Bluetooth 6 support. If you have hardware that supports these standards, you can take advantage of them. These are Geekbench cores, which are single core, multi-core, metal benchmark. We can install Steam, download directly off the Steam website. It's not available on the App Store. We can also see some games do support Apple Silicon, others that won't provide the install button. Not many options are available under 3D Mark. We have Solar Bay, Steel Nomad, Steel Nomad Lite, and Wildlife Extreme. Speeds are not fantastic as compared to Windows, for gaming especially, but much better than earlier. Disk speeds are also really good. We have over 6500 Mbps write and 6400 Mbps read, which is faster than what it was on the M3 and M4 SSDs. Another nifty feature is Sidecar, where if you have an iPad and you have it on the same Wi-Fi as the MacBook, you can extend your display to the iPad, like so. Just select the iPad and now your iPad becomes a monitor, and the stylus works on the iPad. So your MacBook Pro is effectively getting a touchscreen too. Now why did I go for the MacBook Air with the new Neo model available and also the Pro? Well, the Neo uses the same SoC as on the iPhones, which is the A18 Pro. Not that it's a slow SoC, but it's still slower than the M series CPUs. Also, the 8GB RAM is too low for my work. The Neo is targeted at an audience who needs a system which allows them to do their emails, edit documents and spreadsheets at a relatively budget price. No high power requirements here. Not that it can't handle complex tasks, the RAM limitation at 8GB would hamper what all it can work with. The MacBook Pro, the big daddy of the three, is a bit bigger, has more ports and also fans. The CPU, GPU are the same on the Air, but due to the fans, the Pro might keep the CPU temps in check. The screen is also a 120Hz mini LED on the Pro as compared to IPS on the Air. Mostly, it comes down to price. The Neo is good for users who want a well-built device with good performance at a decent price. Windows laptops cannot currently match the quality at the price. At the other end, we have much better displays and options on Windows side too, so it's a catch-22. The Air and Pro are quite similar with the M5 chip-wise, but a better display and more ports on the Pro. We do have the M series Pro and Max variants available on the MacBook Pro, which are not a choice on the Air, but higher specs, more price, so if you need a workhorse, go get the Pro. The average user mostly doesn't need it, the Air is fast enough in its own right. As I have external monitors which would be connected when working at home, I would be using it tethered most of the time until I need to travel. So unplugging it and taking it with you is a possibility as compared to a Mac Mini. So that's one of the reasons I moved to a MacBook instead of Mac Mini. But if you are sure you're going to use it more at a desk, the Mac Mini is more value as it has good cooling via internal fans and you get the same kind of specs at a lower price. RAM and storage has increased in price due to the AI buyout, but it seems to be slowly decreasing again, which Apple surprisingly didn't increase prices for some reason. So what are my thoughts on the MacBook Air? I like the slim design and battery life. It would last a couple of days for normal tasks and can also work with video editing and graphic design tasks when required. The performance remains the same whether plugged in or not, which is a big plus. Apple could have added a fan, but that would cannibalize their Pro line, so kind of understandable. So what are your thoughts? Worth it or not? Make sure to comment below. Also make sure to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when new videos are added. Thank you for watching and see you all next time.